Oh, welcome everybody to CGTV. I'm Logan, the interviewer today, and I'm going to be interviewing Chris on all things video and video marketing. Chris, why?
It doesn't have to be that formal. The whole goal for having this conversation is because we're having a lot of good conversations with contractors about video. I probably right now have an inbox on Facebook with at least 5 or 6 people who are asking questions about video. What does it look like for us to come down and shoot video for them? They've seen a lot of videos we've been producing for other people, and there was a stat that I heard recently, and actually Aaron brought it to my attention, who's our videographer, and it was that for the first time in history since the actual invention of the printing press, that the spoken word has more power than written word. Obviously, a lot of education, a lot of ideologies have always been in books and things like that as well. Well, not always, but for a very long time. But if you're able to get on camera, let someone else tell your story, i.e. past customers through testimonials, tell your own story, i.e. project walkthroughs and things like that as well, it is so impactful for you. So right now, it is crazy to hear how much it's impacting and how much it's working right away. Even to the point we have people who are showing their clients, hey, I want you to shoot these kind of videos for me, and even that video itself is turning into work for themselves. So it's a conversation that's worth having.
Okay, so let's have it, Chris. Tell me all about it.
Well, about what? What question are you asking me?
So, what I'm wanting to know is why video? Nobody here, if you're watching this, you're obviously not naive that video is a thing. So why video? Why now? What's the real point of it?
Well, I think it has utilization, maybe utility is a better word, utility for different people at different stages in their business. Okay, so if you're thinking right now, okay, gotcha, I'm not getting any leads. Okay, well, obviously that's a conversation that's worth dissecting. Am I not getting leads right now because I'm not putting any effort to get leads? I hate the notion that I'm not getting leads and I'm asking, okay, what are you doing right now to get leads? And there's very little, I'm not really doing too much, right? And if you realize that maybe you're looking to increase your overall prices, right? You're frustrated because you're doing this rat race all the time and you're having really small or thin margins or maybe even losing money on jobs. There's a lot of different other scenarios, but how you can utilize video to make your situation better. So for that first example of I'm not getting opportunities, I'm not getting leads, well, if you boil things down to the idea that maybe you're still getting word of mouth and you're like, okay, well, I'm still like, why am I not getting leads, but I am getting some word of mouth jobs? If you boil it down to the fact that obviously you're doing a good enough job, there's something that you're doing right that people feel comfortable referring you out. And that trust that they're able to give to other people is enough that people are saying yes to you. So if that's the case, then why are you not packaging that stuff up to be able to leverage it in more spaces? If you're frustrated with the idea that you're having kind of razor thin margins, you want to increase your overall job size, well, think to yourself, are you educating people on other options that can actually get in this project throughout the actual project itself? Do you look high end enough online to warrant higher overall prices as well? So it has so much utility, but what it really does is I think it gives a heightened and a better accurate representation of what it's like working with your business. Everything from hiring as well. If I see that there's video that's out there that shows a company at a higher elevated place, I'm like, okay, gotcha, I can work for that company. They take the time, they put themselves out there, they're sharing the story. Stop keeping things close to your chest, and there's so much value in creating video behind it. One of the things that I love about our video offer is that very early on, Aaron talked to me about the ideas like, hey, I want to create these videos so that yes, they're going to be great pieces, but they're going to be utilized for the sales process. It's going to be sales enablement or things like that as well. And even hearing him talk about the About Us video, which is one of the 6 of the videos we really push, is what reason why people do it in a wrong way is that they're simply just talking about who they are or their backstory, but they don't actually close the loop on how it's actually beneficial for the customer to work with me, my unique selling proposition, my value that I'm actually bringing to people. and that's all right now we're talking about doing video. So that's kind of, there's a lot of utility to it. I hope that answers the question.
So there's utility to it, but like, why is 2022, we're about to push into 2023, why now? Like, why was this not a thing in 1995?
Well, it's social media. It's how we're actually consuming content nowadays. I mean, 82 or, give or take a little bit, percentage of content online is consumed, that's video. It's so much more relevant now. I saw a documentary the other day about Kobe Bryant, and Kobe Bryant was talking about how he was in high school at Lower Merion in Pennsylvania. And there was people scalping the tickets to go to their games, but all the games were not sold out, as he was kind of a high school phenom in that way. Well, with social media now, with video now, it's spread to the masses to be able to do that. So it's just that times are different. It's the same reason why it made sense at some point to put ads in the yellow pages, because times were different. It makes sense now to sometimes to have ads online because times are different. So the reason why now is just because you're already engulfed in it, and you're actually already buying that way. So you need to start selling the same way that you buy. You're already going online looking at reviews. You're already, okay, how do I change these brake pads? No one is looking at a manual anymore of seeing how do I change these brake pads on my, my Kia X, Y, and Z. They're going to go online, maybe look at a YouTube video to see that as well. So it's just getting with the times and making sure your company is not falling behind, because someone in your area is going to start doing this. Either they've already started or they're going to start very, very soon. And it makes sense for you to be able to, to get in front of this. Thinking about like Premier Ponds, who, the team over there, Mark and things like that, who have been very influential in putting out video. Well, they're benefiting from that. Same thing with Todd Tribble, same thing with Bubba Hogan, all these different people out there who are doing video, they're benefiting from it. So it's just, you're going to have to do it. It's kind of like marketing and kind of like selling. You got to do it. So you might as well start now, and you might as well, be intentional because you see that there's value in doing it.
So I'm reading, it's a not written by Naval Ravikant, who's like really big early, investor in a lot of startups. Like I think he was like really early on in Uber, and he's pretty popular amongst like the tech bro world, if you will. But he's a super smart guy, and he talks about like the 4 different types of leverage that we now have in this world today.
Okay.
And the first and like the lowest level of leverage is labor, meaning you are essentially trading your hands and your actual ability to do something for money, for something else, right? And that's like the oldest leverage tool that you have ever. Now, what's starting to happen more and more is you now have the next step up is going to be media and code as the next forms of leverage. So when I first started, let's say CGN, the leverage point that I had was I'll do the work for you, right? But now that we keep growing and growing, now we have media is the thing that helps us continue to grow the next place. We don't have a software, so when he says code, it could also be like a software, like a CRM has leverage, because it's like we built the thing, and now all we gotta do is pop people in and we're good to go. Same with media platforms, right? Like the news channel has all the pull, because like today, like I'm going onto a news station today to like talk about the business and stuff that we're doing, which is super cool. Now, the station, they don't have to trade labor for time. Like that's not the big pull, because it's not just like some random dude on the sidewalk saying, hey, I want to interview you. This is like a legit operation that has a following, right? So it becomes software and media becomes like the next piece, and then the last piece is capital, right? You don't have to do the work. You don't have to have a whole media platform of your own. You don't have to have a software, Chris, but now you have money that you can invest into other people's stuff or into whatever you want, and that creates another leverage point of like, you've got money, you've got a resource that other people want, and now you have that on your side. So when you first start anything business-wise, it's all labor. Like that's all you really got. Then it moves up to, do you want to create some sort of tool, some sort of software, something that is really scalable that can help more people faster, or do you want media that, and it's not really either or, but that's just, I look at those two are like kind of the same playing field, so they usually piggyback off each other, or do you want a platform that now, I mean, we've got almost 25,000 subscribers on YouTube, like that helps us. So when I go to somebody and say, hey, do you want to come on our podcast? Or hey, do you want to talk to us? By the way, we've got 25,000 subs on YouTube. That to them is way more appealing compared to me going to somebody and saying, look, I don't have a media platform or software capital, but I'll do the interview with you and I'll do all the heavy lifting, but it's going to get seen by 10 people.
You asked the question earlier, like what's the value or why do video now? To go to that point is, I think the mass majority of people listening to this, they are doing a good enough job at actually producing the work. Now, there's some opportunities that everyone can have in their production and their fulfillment. I get that. But overarchingly, they're doing a good enough job. What they need to do is they need to, one, let people know that they exist. And then they need to also let people know that they can solve their, they have a certain level that they actually can solve their problem at. Hey, I can actually solve your problem and I exist. So when you are producing video, you are able to, as you said, leverage so that, hey, I'm not having to go one person by person to be able, hey, can I solve your problem or that I exist? But they're able to do that at scale now. And then I think the more impactful piece of that is not just the idea that I exist, because you should be, that should be something that you're doing at all times. You should be promoting yourself, getting your name out there, singing your name at the top of the mountain so that people know that you're actually, there to be able to solve a problem. But when you're utilizing video and showing that you have solved this exact same problem, a similar problem, something that's in this world, it allows people to know that you actually can solve their problem as well. So if more people knew, and I think it's pretty simple, if more people knew that you existed, and if more people knew that you could solve their problem, what would that do for your business? Well, I think everyone here would say, okay, gotcha, it would grow my business. Maybe it'd say it would grow it exponentially or whatever it may be. Well, if that's the case, if that's the lever that we need to pull, then what are you doing right now to let people know that you exist and let them know clearly that you actually can solve their problem? Because they may come to you because they find out that you exist. Are you leveraging things in your business to show them that you actually can solve their problem? I had 2 calls today. Both people, I don't think right now is the right time for them to join CGN's family. But I do think it's valuable. Like the information that I gave them, they're like, oh, gotcha. Like this is so much more valuable than I had gotten from other companies as well. And right now, the biggest piece of it is, hey, let's find the money. I got to find the money to make this happen. So what I now have is at resources, I can be able to say, hey, let me make sure that you're taken care of and also educated throughout this entire process. I can send them over, and I will send them over video on a consistent basis so that they can be able to see, okay, gotcha, Chris could spend 30 minutes talking to me about the 4 stages of value and how I need to make sure that I'm leveraging the transformational stage of value when I'm actually putting out content, or this video on the video, then it's like I have a higher ability to believe or a higher thought that this person actually can solve my problem. So to me, I think it's not just a no-brainer, but it's like, if you look sexy online, and by that I don't mean that you look great. I'm saying if you check the mental boxes for people that you are a reputable company that can actually solve the problem, and I'm not going to have the headaches with this person, and you've done it for other people beforehand. If you can check those mental subconscious boxes for people, it makes it a lot easier for you to sell. And so if you're looking to scale this stuff, if I want to find out more information about Apple products, I'm going to go online, and yes, I can read the different stats and stuff, but more often than not, I'm going to consume this content via video. So what you're now doing is you're giving yourself another part of this. It's visual, it's audio, it's written word. All these things are valuable to actually show value, but now you're doing it in the most consumable way.
And it's a better product. So like when you create a video that, let's say, goes through the 4 stages of value, and you have it, you watch it, you like it, you're good with it, and then when right now is not the right time for somebody, instead of spending a half an hour and going through that exact framework with them, well, now you have a video that says it probably better than you were to say it right now because it's got better editing and it was more structured at the time. And even though right now maybe you've been saying it more since you created the video, well, now you get to hop off the phone with them, shoot them over that video, and it still gets the job done, but it gets it done in a better clef because it was the structured way of doing it compared to you just trying to like off the cuff talk about it. So it's almost like when you have the media side and you have these videos that now you get to pull those leverage points, there's all these different aspects of the brand looks elevated and things like that that are great, but it's just such a good time save in the same way that, when you talk about, like the whole Shin Fu process and all that stuff, like simply just getting some photos from somebody and talking to them about their problem over the phone ahead of time is like, it's funny, like we just hopped off the phone with Joe and Joe was saying like,
Joe Fry?
Joe Fry, I was asking him, I was like, do you remember what it was like before you actually asked people questions on the phone ahead of time? And we were just kind of like laughing about how silly it was that if somebody called you up to get an estimate, you didn't at least say, hey, let me ask you a few questions just to see if I can even help with your problem. But you don't know what you don't know. So on this side of things, it helps so much. But at the same time, I would say most people are not, when you talked about earlier, shouting from the rooftops how great you are. Like that is why you have a resume. When you go and apply to a job, you have a very structured, really well done piece of paper. Hopefully it's one piece, but I've gotten 6-page resumes before. It highlights all the best pieces and says, this is who I am, this is what I've done, and this is what I can bring to this company. Now, if I went into talking to somebody random that maybe I didn't know they were a hiring manager, I wouldn't naturally bring up all the awards that I've won because I would feel arrogant and braggadocious. But when I have videos and content and things that talk about, what it looks like to be a client of ours and how great, we can be with clients and stuff like that, now all the stuff that I would naturally not bring up due to humility reasons, which are really the things that help sell the job, now I get to have this video be the arrogant SOB that does it all for me. I don't have to bring up, and like with us, like how many times today have you talked about how we have won Inc. 5000? Today in this conversation between you and me?
None.
Right, but what's right there? That's like the whole time. So it's like, it's those little things, and that's the benefit of like a lot of this video stuff is you get to share the highlights. And like, that's what like on a website, like when you have social proof, when you show your testimonials and you get to highlight the awards that you have won, most people don't bring that up on the consultation with somebody, but now you get to put this in front of them and go, look, I am legit, but I don't feel like I'm cocky telling you this stuff because something's already done it for me.
Yeah, and it's just also a lot more efficient and effective because no matter how much you say how great you are maybe to your blue in the face, it doesn't come off the same way as if when Sarah down the street, the neighbor that I have, tells me how great of a job that Logan did for me. It's totally more, it's coming from a non-biased view, right? So even if I'm on the phone or if I'm in front of a camera right now talking about our process, what I'm really saying to you is I've got a process, I'm legit, it's well structured. I've done this several times before. That's what I'm actually saying, but I'm not saying those exact words. What I'm saying is, hey, let me kind of walk you through what our process is like. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do a marketing strategy for you, consult with you about what's actually going on in your business. We can't help you get to where you wanna go if we don't know where you are right now and where you wanna go. That doesn't make any sense. So spend that time to dive that, have a roadmap. Let's say okay to that roadmap first. All right, from there, we'll look at it. Does it make sense for you to elevate your brand through video first? Does it make sense for you to get a website? Are you getting a website, but you also need to have the materials that a video can actually provide for you first? Or do you already have a website? What else can we do for you? Are we not even going to be a good fit for you because what you actually need is some structure in your business? And unfortunately, the way our system is set up, we're not actually providing that structure in the fulfillment section that you actually need in the business. We're talking about more sales and marketing. Well, if I show that process, I'm telling you all those great things about me without just explicitly saying it. And so I guess at this point, I'm wondering. We already talked about the idea that video is important. We already talked about the idea that we've got to do it. I feel like what's stopping people now is just the simple idea of it still feels too daunting. We're still in that back end age of, many of us grew up with a phone in our hand in some ways, but many of us did not. Many of us grew up, seeing people on social media all the time and knowing that, putting yourself out there is kind of socially acceptable at this point. Many of us did not. So I feel like right now it's a shift that's already happening, and we just have people kind of catching up to it. And maybe the problem is not knowing what to do or how to do it, and that fear is stopping people from doing it. And maybe even more so, like knowing that it's okay to know it has to get done, but not put the hat on yourself to get it done yourself. So that's what I'm kind of thinking.
Yeah, and just like the last little bit on this from my side is it has to get done, like what you said. Like it's, all right, technically it doesn't have to, but this is,
But the same way that you technically don't have to sell a job.
Correct. Like you don't have to have a website or to get to, the job site, you don't have to have a truck.
Yeah.
You could have your tools and hop and ride the bus every day, but that doesn't make much sense. And it's, somebody asked me a couple months ago, how do I build an online brand, without Google or Facebook? And I was like,
you don't.
You can't. Like you can, but it's not going to be nearly what you want because those are the juggernauts. Those are they are the internet. For the most part, you got between those two and then like Amazon, like those are like the big dogs in the space and they control everything. So unfortunately, there is going to be a hindrance on the growth of the business because you're not keeping up with the times, and it's equivalent to, you building something with the building code from 1985 or the styles and the trends of 1985. Now, wallpaper's coming back, so maybe you're okay for a little bit, but for the most part, if you're not keeping up to date with stuff and going really deep on the things that are working, like the cool thing that I like about the video side is, for me, it's given me a platform and it's given me a lot of confidence. And like when I went and did, stand-up comedy a couple years ago and I spoke on stages and stuff like that, I'm comfortable because I've done enough of this, and I recognize we're live right now. Like if I mess up and I make a mistake and say something wrong, nobody's gonna comment and be like, Logan, you're a fucking idiot.
Hey, do me a favor right now in the comments.
So nobody I've gotten over that, and I kind of realized that like I'm okay no matter what happens. Like nobody's gonna blast me on stuff. So, and if they are, like, it is what it is. But I remember like, before I did the stand-up comedy thing, I went and watched people do open mic night, and I was watching them, and some people did really well because they had prepared stuff, and some people just didn't do well, but they were up there and they were trying, and it was the idea of the man in the arena. And I wasn't like, man, like if it looked like they put an effort, then I was cool with it. I didn't laugh, but I was like, wow, that was actually really entertaining. But you could tell the people that like, they just got up there and just like totally just like wung it, if you want to call that a verb. So for me, this platform has done a lot for the business, but it's done a lot for Logan.
So
wung, it's like it's the past tense of wing it.
Yeah, why don't you say winged?
Winged? I don't know. We'll just wung it. It doesn't matter. But either way, it gives you this platform that you would not normally feel comfortable with. And I think that's why most people are afraid of it, because with video, it is like public speaking, right? It is putting yourself out there for everybody to see. And if you mess up and you say too much or like, there's a potential consequence to that if people are going to think that you're dumb and you're bad. But it's not really like that, because if you're the type of person to criticize somebody on video, deep down that you are insecure about it yourself. So you criticize, but you're also, you have respect for that person. So that's why I like it a lot, because it's done a lot for me on the personal side of allowing me to voice my opinions and realize like, okay, this is good stuff. Like people enjoy it. It's helping.
So like for me, I guess I just don't get that aspect. I'm not saying it's not true, because it definitely is a perspective. It's just,
it's the majority perspective too.
I stutter, I'm balding, I'm beautiful, like all those things that go on. Like I don't care. I just don't think that it takes away from who I am. And I know this is like more like a tangent on this piece, but I think that the problem is this like idea of this perfection or this want to be seen in a certain light. Like the name of the game is really that effort piece. It's that effort and consistency piece. I hear from Juan, and Juan produces like Third Heaven, and Juan produces what I think are pretty good videos. Now, can they always get better? Yes, but because he speaks in his mind accented English, that it's like, oh, it's not good.
I think the past tense of accented is accent.
Oh, sorry, this guy's an idiot. Anyway, so because of that, he gets frustrated with it. And he says he wonders, he's looking for like validation that it's not bad. And I'm like, I'll tell you that, man, it's not at all. Like it's putting it across. What's going to happen is when people talk to you, they're going to hear that accent, and all you got to do is like that situation now becomes a talking point at some piece. Or I now feel like I'm getting a different situation that I would be getting from I don't know, Boston speaking, Boston accent speaking Joe, or country speaking, Oliver. I don't think of a country name, but Oliver situation. Like they all have their own uniquenesses to them, and like, okay, that's cool. Like no one cares. I don't think anybody really deep down cares. I don't think they think to themselves, oh, gotcha. Well, this guy speaks this way. He can't solve my problem. And if they do think that in that way, well, you're showing them in other ways that you actually can solve their problem. I stutter on the phone. I stutter in real life. I stutter on camera. But does that take away from my ability to actually give you information and give you insight and find a problem that you may not know exists? No. I take a lot of pride in hearing that, oh, hey, I'm role playing with this person right now, and they told me that they learned some of this stuff from you. Well, stuttering old balding Chris gave them that information. And so it doesn't matter. So I really would hope, like I said, I love the fact that it's given anyone that confidence. It's definitely given me confidence as well. I think the biggest thing is you just gotta start. You have to start. If you do not start, you cannot ever get to a finish line ever. So you gotta start today. Recently on phone calls, I pulled up some different clients, and sometimes it's been Premiere, sometimes it's been Tribble, but I say, hey, do me a favor, go to their social media. I want you to go to their Facebook. All right, I want you to scroll down Tribble Painting Company's Facebook and see how many posts you have to scroll down till it says, it's been 1 week since they, last post. Okay, now I want you to do and type in their name on Google and see how many reviews they have. Then I want you to go ahead and type in, Sherwin-Williams versus Benjamin Moore. Who pops up first? Gotcha. So you see what 3, 4, 5 years of doing this stuff consistently has turned into? When you go to their YouTube channel, you'll see that they have X amount of, a couple thousand subscribers and several thousand views on certain pages and stuff. And it's just like, that's because they're being consistent with it. But they also have a lot of videos that have 48 views on it. But that's okay because they're being consistent. So there's no way that you can get to the point of being able to get organic traffic that matches, the sum of thousands of dollars that would, equivalent to paid ads, get that organically every single month if you don't start somewhere. So the name of the game is, hey, if people need to know I exist in order for them to be able to buy my product, they also need to know that I can solve their problem. So I need to be very clear on the problem that I solve, and I need to be very clear on knowing that I gotta have a mentality of getting in front of my ideal customer on a consistent basis. We talk about it all the time. I truly believe that all the contracting companies we work with, ourselves, included in this same space, we are a media company that just so happens to provide a product or service that's outside of that realm. So if you are a deck builder, you are a media company that just so happens to provide decks. Well, what do media companies have? They produce video, they produce content, they put it out there. So if you are wondering, why am I not getting the results that I want to in my business, think to yourself, do the people in my area even know that I exist? And if they do not, what am I doing for that to actually happen? Have I gone, I think it's just, it's simple, not easy, but it's so simple. And so if I know that people like me for this aspect of what I'm doing, why not get that online? Why not get that out there via video? Why not make sure, even if it's offline as well, what are you doing right now to let people know that these things about you? Are you holding them close to your chest? Because if people got to see the value, they got to, like, no one buys a clear, glass looking rock, for no reason. They have to see first know the value of a diamond before they decide to go say, hey, I'm gonna go buy this, right? If that's a relationship piece, if that's it being the strongest surface on earth, if it's whatever, it has some utility reasons as well. Like, you have to see the value before you say, hey, I'm gonna spend this money on this. If Tesla did not show its value, then no one will go spend several $1,000s on buying a Tesla. You gotta show that value. Now, the most efficient way to do it is to leverage something so that you're not having to tell every single person. You probably remember this, and this is so vivid in my mind. We're back at our old office. This is probably when I first started sales. Maybe I was 3 or 4 months in, and I was sitting on the phone with the guy. You came into the office, and I'm like, I'm yelling at this guy over the phone because he's telling me that you have to have 13 touch points with someone before you can, in their home, before they'll be able to buy from you.
And it's not 13 touch points. It's like 13 in-home consultations.
And I was like, no, that's not how it works. And we're going back and forth. And he's like, no, I've got to be in their home for them to see this value. And I think that that's just so short-sighted in the way of thinking of this. Now, is there value in being in someone's home? Yes. But why? What's that value? It's the feeling of a human connection. Well, you can do human connection through video as well. It's the feeling of you educated them on what was going on. They felt heard. Well, you can also do that via video or off the phone as well. You have to just break these things down and recognize that there's so many other ways to leverage this stuff. That goes back to this whole idea of having a game plan. It is November time, going into next year. This is not at all about video, but please don't let the year go by without having a game plan. Please don't let the year go by, end without having a goal in mind as far as like what my revenue goal is. If business is slowing down for you right now, well, what are you doing right now to become the person that you need to be to take on the next year's responsibilities or the goals that you want to actually have? It frustrates me that, we get on this hamster wheel and, of always looking to outsell your problem, and you don't actually ever fix the issue. If the issue is, hey, I don't have a way for one of my project managers to upsell, and that's a frustration that I've had all year long, but I don't spend the time to actually develop the process to let that happen, then how do I expect it actually to change? If I'm frustrated with the idea that I got all these customers that have no idea what it costs to work with me, well, what are you actually doing to make that actually happen? Are you making your sales process easier? Or do you have a marketing definition or a marketing plan defined out for your company? It's just, I don't know. There's a lot of tangents we can go on, but I'm glad that we have this tool in video that you can use to leverage to make your life so much easier, tell your story in a better way, and be able to just simply highlight and showcase all the great things that you're already doing.
The power is it's getting taken away from the HGTVs and the Magnolia networks and stuff like that. Like, think about how often I send you a clip from YouTube or a podcast or, social media.
Or your comedy special.
Yeah, or my I probably send that, I should probably do it more. But like, compare that to how many times I've said, hey, check out this news station or check out this movie. Like, it's switching. Like everybody, it's cool. It's like the idea of like, you know how back in the day, like the record labels, like if you wanted to listen to a song, you had to go to the store, buy a CD, buy a record, and that's how, and you had to buy the whole thing. But now you just hop on Spotify and you have a collection of everybody's stuff that you want. So essentially what Spotify did was it like decentralized, and you want to start talking about like the whole decentralized, DeFi and all that kind of shit. That's what's happening, where with media, it's the same thing. And it's all changing, where now the power is being taken away from these really high-end productions. yes, you're gonna have the House of Dragons and the stories that like you need $1 million an episode, and like those are gonna do well. But like the lower budget stuff, I mean, it really is like if you look at TV at this point in life, it's like news, sports, really high-end productions, and then really low-end productions, and low-end being, like The Bachelor, where they don't have to pay the actors or actresses. They just say, hey, look, you want a chance at love? Come on here. You're getting, I mean, I don't think they get paid, but if they are, I mean, they're not getting paid $1 million an episode like some of these other programs are. And you get to be in that low production value place where now it really comes down to, what are you producing? Are you doing good projects? Are you telling a story? And the coolest part about all that is you think that you're doing it for social media, but what you're doing is you're learning how to tell a story. Like, I think that's one of the greatest things is like, with us, I mean, we've done a lot of training on storytelling and figuring out what are the pieces that people care about and what are the pieces that people don't really care about. And like, when we talk about this video stuff, we have yet to even bring up, like the actual technical aspects of here's how to edit, here's how to film. We've got all that stuff, but the whole point is people are doing the video as a result, not for an outcome, not for the actual intrinsic value of I love video, because those kinds of people are not running their own contracting business, but people need the video and the media as a leverage tool. So it's great shit. It's not going away. It's only going to continue to increase. And right now there's this like land grab of, imagine you got in early of, it's not, 1800, and there's a bunch of property for sale in Manhattan, New York for pennies on the dollar. Had you have known what New York would be 200 years ago, would you have bought that? Hell yeah, you would have bought that. If you would have known what Amazon stock was 20 years ago, would you have thrown a bunch of money into it? Yeah, you would have. And video is the same way, where right now there's still this land grab, and with new social medias and stuff coming out, like it's not getting any easier to do this because it's becoming more and more crowded, because eventually, I mean, you're going to be, your company is competing against your child who's doing Instagram as well. And, like, I think, God, I was reading something, but they were talking about just the amount of kids coming out of school that when they ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's content creator. Like that's with Olivia, like that's going to be a real thing. And it's, all the video game nerds growing up, you can never get a job doing video games unless you're like a tester or a developer or something. But now, I mean, like, I think it's like one of the top YouTubes is just some kid who's like 5 years old that just plays with toys. That's literally what, like, imagine that is your life, is you just buy a toy. Actually, you probably don't even buy it. The toy companies probably send it to you, and there's like rules around this shit, but like your kid's getting free toys, and all they have to do is just play with it and say, did you like it or not? And then now you get paid millions of dollars from YouTube literally for something that you already do. So it's changing the game. The power is going from these big organizations into the hands of people that are actually the creators. And the more creative you can be, like that's like in the, I mean, I first started in the pond world, like seeing all this stuff. So I watched like the Atlantis Water Gardens and people like that really embraced YouTube early on. And it was so cool because, watching Jack, he got to take all the artistry, because he's like a true artist. He's won like Aquascape Artist of the Year. He's fantastic. He gets to take all that artistry side and apply it to video. And video in itself is an art. So if you're somebody who's very artistic, and that, if you're an electrician and you're all about numbers and math, like maybe the video stuff's a little bit different. But, if you're somebody who's truly building art in your mind, especially in a visual industry, well, this is just a different platform for your own art. That's all it really is.
I think that I remember growing up, and I used to watch probably Nickelodeon, the whatever sitcoms that were coming on at the time, the Martins, the Cosby shows, the different shows that would come on like that, Seinfeld and all that good jazz. And then I would watch the Food Network, and
that worked out.
I watched the Food Network, and I would watch, different, like, I remember like random Saturdays, I'd come downstairs and there'd be like fishing on TV, some guy talking about fishing, all that kind of stuff. Well, that's where where you could only find that kind of content as far as this guy fishing, talking about this bass, blah, blah, you can only find it there. Or the cooking stuff, you could only find it on TV, right? You had to watch Rachel Ray or, Alton Brown or Emerald Lagasse, whatever it may be. You only could watch that stuff on TV. Well, then you started having the ability to utilize YouTube. Soulja Boy came around, right? And you utilize YouTube, and now you have more people who have their own channels as well. You have these own little segments as well.
Wait, did Soulja Boy revolutionize?
Well, he revolutionized YouTube because of the fact that he was one of the first people to be able to kind of bring music to YouTube.
Oh, really?
And to kind of blow up in that way, yeah. So he had a YouTube following first, was like his first big blow up.
Do you know what it was for Halloween this year?
Who are you?
So I was a guy named Chris Crocker.
Okay.
You may have seen the video, but essentially it's a guy that this was back in like the heyday of YouTube, back in I think they started in like 06.
Okay.
And this was probably 2000, because I remember watching it with Malcolm, and this was probably 2008. And it's some guy going on there talking about Britney Spears. This is when she's going through all of her shit, and he does like the leave Britney alone, and it became like viral. And that's back when YouTube was just like stupid videos. It was funny. It was kind of a fringe thing to go on. And it was like literally like trying to go against other video platforms. And now it's become a whole thing in itself. But I didn't know that about Soulja Boy, that he but I'd also imagine with him, he just crank that, excuse me. But it was a whole dance that I remember we would watch it, to learn the dance. And now it's like, half the rap songs now have a dance to it. And that's how those songs stick. Well, now it's becoming TikTok that I know with Audrey, there's songs that if I listen to them, she'll be like, oh, I know that song. And I'm like, where'd you hear it? She's like, well, it's big on TikTok right now. Is that how you heard it? I was like, I definitely didn't hear it from that, but I get it. So,
but the thing is, so think about that. So Soulja Boy was able to before, I imagine, in order to get into the music industry, you had to you sing, someone finds who you are, you gotta break an artist by, an A&R's gotta find this person,
or you go to the radio stations and pitch.
Exactly. You got DJ from Hustle and Flow, right? Giving all those.
Yeah, he's passing them out. Yeah,
passing the cassettes, all that kind of stuff out, and that's the way you get on. But now, what you can do now is you can build your own platform on YouTube. Yeah, yep. on YouTube, build your own videos with not too much production, right? And you can be able to have your own channel to people to be able to follow you as well. And so...
Oh, that's how Little Dicky got big.
Yeah, exactly.
Now he got his own TV show.
Yeah, and so now think about that same scenario. I was going to go to now the Food Network, where people... my daughter watches this person named Miss Rachel. It's this lady, I have no idea who she is, and she just talks to little kids with this little kind of sometimes annoying voice of hey, learn the ABCs. And she's just at her home with not any crazy production talking with that, and the kids are mesmerized by it. But she has her own platform now. She didn't have to go to be on TV to do this, and I'm sure she's making quite a bit of money of doing this. And so, same thing with food. If I look now, there's so many people who are online who are having their own kind of cooking shows. They don't have to worry about going to a big network to be able to find that to be able to be a reality for them. So right now, in this very space, contractors have the ability to create their own channel that can be known in their own area to promote their work. And he can be beyond that, because the thing that Triple does is Triple answers questions for people that aren't just in his area. But the thing is, that authority that he builds is going to be heavily, I talk to people all the time who are not in painting, who are in Michigan itself. I say the Triple company, he's like, oh, I've heard of the guy. I don't necessarily know him, but I've heard of him. In the pond world, people know of Premier Ponds. They may not know who Andrew is, or maybe not know who Steve was, or maybe who Mark is, or Mike, or I mean to say Mike, but they might not know that. But at the same time, it's they know pieces of it. You have this ability, you have this platform to create your own channel, your own narrative, your own spotlight on you, the company. And if you're able to do that, if people will buy from you. It's just that simple. If you're providing a quality product and solving a big enough problem, then why on earth not show people that? Create your own platform to do it. Right now you have the resources. Phones are easily available. YouTube channel takes 5 minutes to create. It's free. It's like it was silly in 1990 to not have a Yellow Pages ad. it doesn't make any sense not to have one. If you're a business in this area, why not have your stuff listed in the yellow pages? It's silly not to do it. It's silly nowadays not to have a Google My Business listing. People are online looking for this stuff. If the platform's already built for you, it's silly not to have it's free. Why not have it? YouTube is available for you. The ability to create video is available for you. Why are you not utilizing this resource? It's like you get with the times or you're gonna die. And so it just makes all the sense in the world. Start now. There's so many resources we have out there. Mike, if you don't mind, just put up the video that talks about how to start a YouTube channel. It's pretty simple. And it's something that you have this grand ability to kind of break yourself into the industry, become a big player without having to have the 50 years of experience. My dad's been doing this for 50 years and he had to build relationships. Yes, I love those stories because they're authentic. It was a different time then where you had to do that. But at the end of the day, what someone really cares about, like it's a perk to be able to have a company that's a family business. It's a perk for it to be a US business. It's a perk for those things. But what they really care about when it's all said and done is, can you solve my problem? And if you can solve their problem, if you can help them out, if you can provide value to them, then you can break into this situation a lot faster. The barrier of entry is smaller. So if you are a newer business, if you're an older business, if you're looking to retire soon, whatever it may be, you have this tool at your disposal. Don't not use it.
All right, good? Do video. That's all it is.